So unless you've been living under a rock, and in that case I hope it's cool under that rock, because man, it is not cool up here. It's been over 40 degrees for the past week. I'm sweating in my basement that's usually like a freezer, so that is saying something. So if I am sweating in this video, it is because of that, or possibly because of the new Canon EOS R5 and R6. I am super pumped about these cameras. The rumors have been going around like crazy for so long. All this stuff about 8K, 4K, 120, all these crazy specs, and then Canon confirmed it, and I'm like, no way, that's Canon, they're not gonna do that. And then the other day they announced them, and you can pre-order them now, and they did put all these things into them, and they're basically my dream camera. I'm not gonna buy either of them. Let's talk about it. So I know that was kind of a long and weird intro, but the fact of the matter is that the Canon R5 and R6 both offer pretty much everything that I would ever want in a hybrid mirrorless camera, at least for the next couple of years. And they're basically my dream cameras, and I'm not going to buy either of them. And there is a very good reason for that. A very good reason that anybody else shooting with different types of cameras, may it be Sony cameras, Nikon cameras, Panasonic cameras, any other camera brand out there, this should have you really excited, even if you're not going to purchase the new Canon R5 or R6. The reason being is that across every single niche, every single product lineup, one thing is true across all of them. And that is the fact that if companies want to stay relevant and still have customers who buy their products and want to buy their products, they have to stay competitive in pricing, features, and just all around specifications of their products. And with Canon, the big dog, the OG in this business, releasing a 4K 60p camera for $2,700, full frame, basically no crop, 10-bit 422, and an 8K camera with 4K at 120 frames per second, raw video, all these amazing specs at 20 frames per second for $4,000. That's putting a new baseline on what kind of specs each camera company is going to have to offer at a very realistic and affordable price point for professionals, prosumers, and even consumers. Like, this is crazy. The price to feature ratio on these is huge. And the features in these really weren't even possible a couple of years ago, and now you're getting them in a sub $5,000 camera, mirrorless, the size of basically a Sony camera, tiny bit bigger, no fan, and you can still shoot 8K video. Like, that just boggles my mind. Raw 8K video in a mirrorless hybrid camera for under $10,000, let alone $5,000. So this is paving the way for a new generation of hybrid mirrorless cameras, and that has me really excited because, like I already said, every other company out there wants to stay relevant and still have people be interested and buy their products. They have to at least match those specs for similar prices, and that's exactly what I think a lot of companies are gonna do. I'm talking the A7 IV, which should be coming out soon this year from what I've heard, as well as the long-awaited Sony A7S III. That unicorn is supposed to be coming here soon as well, and both of those I would suspect to have 4K at 60 frames per second. Maybe you're a Nikon shooter. I've heard rumors of the new Nikon lineup coming out, like a Z6, Z7 upgrade, and they're most likely going to have 4K 60p. All these would probably use the full width of the sensor. I can't see them doing that and kind of crippling them, as both the EOS R5 and the R6 basically use the full width of the sensor. I think the EOS R6 has a very slight crop, but either way, it's basically full frame 4K at up to 60 frames per second minimum on both. And I think every other camera brand is going to have to at least match that and release them at similar price points if they want to stay relevant and still have people buy their products, which they want us to, and we want to buy them. We want to get the most value for our money. So they have to stay competitive if they want to stay relevant and have people actually purchase their products. So with that being said, I am super excited for what's to come in the camera industry. This stuff is crazy. Canon, I never would have guessed that they could do this stuff, and this has me really excited for the first time in a long time about a Canon camera. Honestly, I would say that there are two main reasons that I would recommend you to actually buy these, because I am in no way saying that the R5 R5 or the R6 are cameras that you should not buy, because despite the overheating issues that are primarily on the R5 that will probably be remedied via firmware and just use case scenarios, because it's not really necessary to shoot 8K all the time. That's just insane. It doesn't make sense. The workflow would be insanity. You'd probably spend as much as a cinema camera on a new computer to just edit those 8K files if that's all you're shooting. But the fact of the matter is that, like I said, two main reasons that I would say to buy these cameras, because they are still absolutely amazing cameras. The first one is if you're already somehow in the Canon lineup. If you have Canon cameras and or Canon glass, may it be EF or the new mirrorless mount, either way, if you need the features of the EOS R5 or R6, go for it. They are amazing cameras, I can tell you that right now. And if you're already in the lineup, you're not losing anything switching, because you can just adapt the glass if you have EF, or simply put on the proprietary glass if you have the mirrorless lenses for something like the EOS R or the RP. But the second reason that I would say to buy this is if you have a different camera, say you're shooting Sony, Nikon, Panasonic, whatever it may be, and there is something that you need right now that only Canon is going to offer. If Canon is offering dual pixel autofocus and you're using a Panasonic camera and you need 4K 60 right now with great autofocus, it's your only option right now. But if you can wait and you're fine sticking with your camera for now, and then you can wait to see what these other companies are going to offer, because I can tell you right now 4K 60 is going to become the new standard. Everything in cell phones just slowly trickles its way up, from cell phones with 4K 60 to action cameras, 1-inch sensors to micro four thirds, APS-C, full frame. Everything just trickles its way up, and we're getting there to the full frame 4K 60. Processing power is there, the heat dissipation is there, so now we're at the point where cameras are going to start implementing this as like a baseline feature. Before it was just 4K 24 and 30 usually with a crop. Now 4K 60 is going to become the new standard. Basically, if you need these features right now and you're okay selling your gear, taking the loss, go for the EOS R5 or R6. But if you can wait and you're happy with your camera for now, but they're just kind of nice little extra features like 4K 60 and you can wait a little bit, I recommend to wait until your camera brand releases their updated cameras, because there are a lot coming out this month. July is going to be a crazy month. This whole second half of 2020, although the first half's been pretty crappy in the world, I think in the camera world specifically, we're looking at a very exciting and eventful second half of 2020. So please keep that in mind, and if you don't need it right now, you are going to be losing money switching camera brands, and I really don't recommend that, because like I said, every company is going to have to keep up eventually. So if you can somehow wait and stay invested in the camera brand that you already are in, you're gonna eventually get the features that these other camera brands are introducing, because it's just the way things work. If not, companies would go out of business much more often. Everybody is pushing towards the same thing, cutting edge, innovative features. Canon seems to be the first one, with Sony right on the tail, Nikon on the tail of Sony there with the new Z6 and Z7 upgrades, all of which, like I said, I'm sure we can expect 4K 60, 10-bit, probably 422 internally, if not externally, and a whole host of other awesome features. So flippy screens on Sony cameras, I am definitely saying are gonna be here. They did it on the 6000 line. This is a 6500, so it doesn't have it, but I'm pretty sure we're gonna get some sort of articulating screen to see yourself. So that's gonna be a great option for vloggers. Full frame camera, great autofocus. It's basically the Sony equivalent of the R5 or the R6. I feel like we're going to be getting two very similar cameras to the R5 and the R6 in the next generation of Sonys, with the R5 being similar to the A7S III or whatever they're going to call the A7S II successor, and the R6 being very similar to the A7 III successor, probably the A7 IV. So what am I saying? Yes, the EOS R5 and the R6 are absolutely my dream cameras, and honestly, if Canon didn't want to go overboard with it and kind of just give everything they could on this and be the top of the innovation board, they really could have just taken what they put in the R6, put it in the R5, and called it a day. A $2,700 camera with 4K 60, great autofocus, IBIS, a new slightly improved battery, a flip out screen, the list goes on. It is an amazing camera, and honestly the R5 is just overkill for a lot of people. I feel like the R6 is going to be the sweet spot, just like the A7 III is in the Sony lineup, and probably A7 IV will be in, well, the next generation of full frame mirrorless cameras from Sony. So Basically, I'm not buying either the R5 or the R6. If you're using another camera brand and you love the EOS R5 or R6 features and you're thinking about upgrading, just keep in mind that every other camera brand is going to have to keep up with these specs, and that is super exciting because it just takes one company to go out and release these amazing cameras at amazing prices with these top of the line features, and every other company has to follow suit to stay relevant. So thank you, Canon, for that. If you're a Canon shooter and you want those features, heck, these are going to be amazing cameras. I would definitely recommend ordering them. If you need these features now, yeah, you can maybe sell your system and go buy them, but I would recommend holding out if you can, because your system will most definitely get these features sooner or later. And by the look of it, like I said, this half of 2020 is going to be pretty impressive in the camera world. I'm thinking it'll be sooner than later. Thank you guys for watching, and I will talk to you in the next video. Stay safe, stay well, and bye.